fear's greatest disguise is wisdom. When you hear that voice that says, not yet, I'm not ready, all the things that you were just talking about, it's fear disguising itself as prudence. It also prevents you from realizing your potentials, discovering what may turn into something great. The worst quality you can be is a perfectionist because you live in a place of comparison, and comparison's a thief of joy.
Good evening, Nick, man. How you doing?
I'm good, Harry. How are you, buddy? How are you? You good?
It looks like I'm operating in daytime and you're operating at nighttime, although we're both in the UK, as I understand it.
It does. I'm trying a different camera. I've got this, I feel like I'm in some kind of jazz club. It gives me a slightly different lighting, doesn't it? I feel like I'm in Ronnie Scott's.
Yeah, that's it. And also with our neon sign in the background. It's not
very... I don't know. It's a new camera. I might go back to the old one. I'm trying a different. It's supposed to be a 4K camera. I thought I'd try some new equipment, but I think the other one's a little bit clearer and a little bit less jazz feel. I feel like I need to do some jazz hands.
You must have quite a few cameras now. I constantly checking my stuff because I'm now in Brighton at the moment, so I had to remember to bring stuff down and back, and I'm like getting a bit tired of it. And then I was filming a video today actually, and then I realised the lighting was not great where I was filming it. So I was filming a video about rebounding. So as you know that
rebounding is in the thing you bounce on as opposed to when you break up with a partner.
Yes, sorry, mini trampoline. And so I was trying to film a comparison video between an $800 rebounder versus say $100 rebounder. The challenge, and I've got like 3 rebounders at the moment. So I've got £100, like £80 one or £60 one, $100 one, $250 one, and then an $800 one or £500 one. But some of them are in Brighton and some of them are in London. So I had to film some of the video the other day and then some today. And then the lighting is challenging and the sound and the video. I'm not sure if it's going to be any good. But I was just wanting
just in time for Christmas, right? If people are thinking about buying a rebounder, do you buy 100? Do you spend 800?
Yeah, the reason for the video was actually to promote Black Friday. So it's Black Friday week. And I didn't realize that for a long time, I have an affiliate link with the rebounder I use, Bellicon, and it wasn't working for years and years and years because various internal changes and they changed the IT setup. So only last week did I realize that. So now I've got a new one. And my most popular video on YouTube is over 300,000 views and it's 10 top reasons for rebounding. And so I was like, I get quite a few clicks through that, and you get a commission if you make a sale or something. So I was like, okay, I need to do an updated video of some sort, but I'm not sure this is going to cut the mustard. But for those of you that don't currently use a mini trampoline, you'll understand why it's so amazing to use if you check out my YouTube video.
Send over me the affiliate link. We'll put it in the show notes of the episode. Might get you a couple of extra sales.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been raving about. I've had one for 15 years. It was the first thing actually I bought. Starting my personal development journey, actually. So my journey started in earnest just around almost exactly the same time that we met, right? In September 2010. And that's when I went on my first NLP course, which led me to another course and figuring out
down the wellness rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that I remember listening to was at a seminar I went to in January of 2011. A guy called Joseph McClendon III, who I do mention in the book Super Vitality.
It's a great name.
Yeah. And he's Tony Robbins' top trainer. So he's been with him for like years and years and everything. I'm not sure if they're still working together, but they had been for at least 30 years by that stage. Anyway, long story short, he was talking about a rebounder and using a rebounder when you're doing your visualizations and everything else. And I bought one, I think on their recommendation, and I bought the Bellicon, which was at the time the only rebounder with bungee cords from my recollection. And I've had the same one since then. And so I've been a big fan of them. I mean, obviously, or perhaps not obviously, you have to replace the bungee cords every few years as they wear through. So I've probably only done that about 3 times, maybe like once every 5 years. And I use it pretty much every day. And so I've been recommending rebounding. I mean, I think I got you on it when you came and visited, but
yeah, you did, yeah.
Don't get it, right? And I've got friends like my friend Trevor who really just doesn't get it, right? He's like, why wouldn't you just go out for a run? And I'm just like, it's different, right? For one, it's softer on the joints, but 2, it's just there. 3, there's no barrier to entry. You can do it whatever you're wearing. You don't have to do anything. It doesn't matter on the weather. You just jump on it. I did it today for like half an hour in front of my infrared red light therapy stuff. And for me, that's my get up and go in the morning. So I've been a big fan of them since way before I was an affiliate.
When I have a giant trampoline in the back garden, and it really is massive with full walls, that hasn't been used in about a year. I don't think I've ever changed the bungee cords on that thing. There's a lot of them.
If it's
I
a
probably should at some point.
you'll have springs.
Yeah, it might be springs. I mean, it's been out there for a long time. I don't know how resilient the nylon thing you jump on is in all weathers, but it hasn't been. It's been in the sun, the rain, the snow. But I should get on it. Really, it's. I don't go on it. Maybe that could be my rebounding in the morning, outdoors on a giant trampoline. But I haven't used it.
That's the thing. It's hard. I actually went to the shed today in the house that I'm in, and I had to put like away the ladder and a couple other things, step ladder or whatever it was, and I was thinking to myself, so many people have said to me, "Oh, why don't you just use that space as your sauna?" Right? And I keep saying the same thing. And I thought about this today. I go, I will never use it. Right? I'm someone that loves it, but as soon as you add that extra obstacle,
well, being outside,
today, I was like, I'm barely going to get out in the garden this winter.
This is like the ice tub, right? As you know, I've got an ice tub for wellness benefits, and I had one outdoors in one of these free ones. You kind of fill up, well, I say it's not free, but relatively minimal in price, and you fill it up with a tap and whatever. I just never used it. It was outside. It's always too cold. Like if you're cold before you even get in the water, I'm not getting in the water. So the one I've got is designed to be outdoors or in. And I've had a few faults with it. They came around and said, most people have these outdoors. I wouldn't use it. I don't know how close it is to the back door. It's peeing out with rain. It's freezing cold. I'm not going out in my boxes or whatever and jumping in an ice tub. But when it's in the gym, a nice warm space, I know the water's cold. I get the same benefits. I can get in after a workout, which is when you're actually roasting anyway. So it's a nice way of cooling down. And I can chill knowing that when I get out of that thing, I haven't got to walk through a lot of leaves and rain and anything else to get to the benefits. So I get your point. That extra layer, when I had one outdoors, I just never used it. If anyone wants a free Lumi ice tub, I have one. You can have it. I'll come pick it up. But I'm not using that one. But the one indoors I use because it's indoors. Is that an element of comfort before the discomfort, which I need?
I think that's the thing. Is that any additional friction involved, even for us who are super into this, it is an issue. And so, I mean, maybe this is another episode that we talk about for New Year and habits, which we always do. But one of the things like that is key to forming habits and also destroying habits is make the habit you don't want to do hard and make the habit you do want to do easy. And it's about as simple as that. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And so even today, actually, I've repositioned where my quote unquote gym is in the house in Brighton. So my gym is not a gym; it's just like soft mats and my equipment and whatever, which used to be in the living room. And I was saying I want it there because I want to be able to see it. I want to be able to do it in the day. For Christmas, I'm debating switching it up into what's my bedroom, purely because I want to be able to put a bigger dining table there for Christmas. So I think I'm going to host Christmas at mine. And actually, I kind of liked it in the standalone room because often I'm staying with my mum, and the difference is that I go down before she does in the morning, and when she comes down, then she wants to engage with me, and I get distracted and I'm not doing stuff. Whereas if I have it in a separate room, I'm going to be isolated, and also when my niece comes around and she plays, she's going to be isolated in there with my mum, so it won't disturb me as much. So I kind of like the idea of it now being tucked away, but at the same time, it means the rebounder's there and a few other things. So I'm not just going on it haphazardly. So, 6 of one, half dozen of another, really, when it comes to that. But
my wife was talking about, we're going out to Christmas now. I'm going to make a kind of loose connection to what we've been talking about to where I was going with this. But I'm at a point now where I don't think there's really anything I want or need for Christmas. Right? I need to start cycling through the things, no pun intended, that I've probably had last Christmas and the Christmas before. The gadgets that I've bought that, for whatever reason, I loved for a few months, and then they slowly start collecting dust in the corners. They get loved by something else that's overtaking it. But I pulled my calf recently playing paddle, which I did make the paddle tournament, by the way. We did well. We won 5, lost 2. So we managed to get through, and I don't think I've made it any worse. But when you get these injuries, all the things come out the woodwork. Like I found my infrared little cover, so that went on the calf. I've been using my little what do you call it? Your massage gun, all the little things that I've had that I haven't been using. My electromagnetic stuff that keeps the thing stimulated, the MT therapy. It's all been going on. And it's worked. I managed to heal myself from a grade 1 tear in a week to play a paddle tournament. It's high stress again. And get through it. But what I did is, when you're looking for this stuff, or I did anyway, I found loads of like previous presents that I'm thinking, I'm not using this stuff enough. I need to get back into certain routines. But then I thought, okay, this is the tentative, like loosely connected Christmas piece. The idea that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. This is a bit like having the trampoline in the back garden. I could go and do that, but I haven't got time to fit everything in. I haven't got time to use every single gadget. And then when you're preparing for Christmas, we can't do everything. It drains the physical, the emotional, the social energy that we have. So it's all about deciding where we invest our energy. But it's given me a bit of a renewed energy for rediscovering all the, my wife would call crap, that I've accumulated over the many years. That is all there to make us feel better and be better and more injury free and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, I'm going to get it all out. I'll sort it out, get rid of the stuff that's been, elevated by, i.e., the outdoor ice bath is not being used. Get rid of it because I have an indoor one. I don't need both. So I have a little bit of a cleanse on old gadgets and keep the new ones, and hopefully create a little bit of a wellness system of things I need to start utilizing. I'm getting older, Harry, and I'm feeling the pains more. So there's an element that these gadgets are going to be more worthwhile now than they were when I first got them. So it's quite exciting. It's quite fun going through them all.
I mean, it's interesting. I think this all ties together actually with Christmas and Black Friday and consumerism, which I was talking about earlier. So obviously we have Black Friday coming up, but it's not really Black Friday. It's Black Friday month or something.
When is Black Friday? I thought it was last Friday. Was that just because it started early?
No, I think it's this Friday.
Is it? I thought it was already Cyber Monday. Shows what I know.
But people, I guess companies figure, look, if I could make, 100% more sales on Friday because I've created this massive discount, I'll probably be able to make 200% more sales if I do it for Thursday and then more. And so they realize that they should do it for longer.
I honestly thought it had already started. So shows
we
what I
end
know.
up with all these things like, the gadgets and whatever, and you can't use all of them, but they do. Like I was thinking, I haven't used my massage gun for a while. I used my neck hammock, which I do like, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago for the first time in probably about 2 years. But it's nice to have these things as and when you need it. So like, even like right now, I've got like a little ankle support because I've got my Achilles is hurting. And I bought those years ago, but you have all these things ready to go. But what you were talking about renewing and refreshing, maybe gifting or, selling these things. I've been doing a little bit of Facebook marketplace stuff recently because I've moved into this house 4 months ago. I still need things like a dining table, for example, and things. So today, even there was like a pool table. My sister was like, you should get this pool table. It was 25 quid for a pool table. And because she's like, oh, we need something to play at Christmas when we all come to yours. And I'm like, oh, we'll have things to play. But I thought, maybe I'll put an offer in for a tenner and I'll say I collected today. But by the time I went onto Facebook, it had already sold anyway.
Already sold.
Kind of glad about it.
I'm quite glad. I think you can't be offering these people £10 for pool table. Come on, Harry. 20 quid at least.
Well,
it's Christmas.
I don't really want it. I didn't really want it. And I certainly didn't want to pay £25 to have more stuff in my house. I want to be a little bit prescriptive with what goes in.
I get it.
And I think this is really a metaphor as well. Like they say, your outside world reflects your inner world. And I'm saying this, and I don't think my sister listens to this podcast, so it should be okay. But, it's always chaos in the house. I mean, like I came in and the desk is full of stuff. I've had to move it off. And now I understand, right? She's got a 2-year-old, right? And an 11-year-old who makes mess but doesn't really clear up any mess. And I've been here to look after the 2-year-old because she's in London and whatnot, whatever. And I don't have time to do anything. I was trying to message my cleaner, the Airbnb cleaner, about some issue. And I was so conscious of the fact, and I felt really, really guilty actually, because Phoenix, my niece, kept trying to engage with me, and I was trying to text, which is something obviously I told you, and most people who know me know I hate to do when I'm trying to engage with other people. And I felt really bad because as I was not engaging enough, she was going to more and more extremes to get my attention, sort of thing. And then it's very much monkey see, monkey do, and therefore they see us with the screens, and we go onto the screens and everything. But the point I was going to make is about your outside world reflecting your inner world. Is I understand my sister's got no time whatsoever because of everything, and so her house is a little bit less organized than mine. However, I've also known my sister my entire life, and I know what her room was like when she was growing up and before she had children and everything else. And so for me, part of my beat model is about environment and having an organized space and how you tend to have more energy when you're a little bit organized. So what I'm going with all this is to say that clearing out of clutter, your old ice bath, the old gadgets, as we start to go into the new year and go to Christmas, maybe we want to start to clear out the internal clutter as well.
It's good. It's good. I think you can do it even before. Like, we know at Christmas, right? It's genuinely beneficial to swap perfection for presents. Like, I don't say presents as in the presents we gift. I mean being present. So Presence. I think holiday perfectionism, trying to get pool tables in to make sure everyone's happy, catering for every possible, whim and all these kind of things. These are the biggest sources of December burnout. And December really should be an opportunity over Christmas where we actually hopefully have a chance to recharge, to spend that social time, to eat and maybe a little bit more merrily for sure, but just to relax and let the guardrails off a little bit. And if you're so focused on making everything perfect, it's going to be a difficult time. So I think there's things we can do in advance to help with that. But interestingly, so me and Harry met. I don't know if anyone saw our Instagram channel recently. We met in London for a relatively ad hoc catch up. I was in London for a couple of hours. Harry headed in. We caught up. It was good. We had a good time. Went out for a bit of Wagamama's, didn't we? Which was nice and very tasteful. But you said something to me then. I actually said this to my wife later on, and it was something that I had awareness of it. But when you put it out in front of someone, and you're guilty of it, it's interesting.
I know what you're going to talk about. Yeah.
You do. Interesting how that feels. So while I was met with Harry, and I was officially still working, this is going to be my excuse. I'm going to call it an excuse because as an owner of my own company, I could have taken an executive decision and not done that. And had I been with a client and not with Harry, it wouldn't have been there, right? It's the truth. So I could have made an executive decision and not had it, but I had my phone on the table. So me and Harry are chatting, phone is there. It was turned upside down. For me, that's the kind of a sign to say, how are you, important, whatever. I wasn't looking at the screen. I think it's fair to say I wasn't necessarily too distracted by it, but it was there. And we got in a conversation about our phones. We had a mutual friend that came and joined us, and he had his phone on the table as well, but Harry did not. And typically me and Harry often, when we meet, end up talking about mobile phones and screen times and things like that. And Harry said, look, it's not that I have an issue with the phone being on the table, but what's interesting is when it's on the table, if a client wants to phone you, it tells the other person just by having it there that I'm willing to be distracted by something more important than the conversation we're having right now. Now, if there's nothing on the table that the recipient, i.e. Harry in this instance, isn't sat there thinking, I wonder if he's going to get a call in a minute that's more important than me. And if a call was to come in and I answered it, it tells Harry's on the other side that actually I value that call more than I value our conversation. Now, to a degree, there are calls that could come in where I would value that conversation more than mine with Harry. Sorry, Harry. Truth point here. And I did say it's sometimes more complicated that you when you're a parent, you tend to have your phone always with you in case that call comes in. And my wife may phone or maybe an important client. But I do think sometimes we tell excuses to ourselves as well. And Harry countered by saying, well, if it's really important, I get you got kids, why don't you just set up notifications where if your kids call you, it links to your watch, and your watch can vibrate, and we'll all accept that if it's your kids, Nick, yeah, I'm happy for you to take the call. The point is, it could be a text message from someone or a call from someone that isn't as important, and you're still taking it. And it, therefore, the way it comes across is you're valuing that conversation more. It really hit home. It was interesting. I went with my family for dinner at Rockfish on a Saturday after paddle, and put my phone away because I didn't want to be. There was no one then more important than the people in the room, and I didn't want to give that message across. And it did hit home.
I talk about it in Super Vitality, and I mentioned it last week, just the 3 occasions where I've genuinely not been present with the phone.
Yeah, we talked about this when we met, didn't we?
Yeah, and we talked about there. So I'm not going to go into it now, but the point is that's 3 times in, I don't know, 20 years that I've had a phone that has been emergency. Interestingly enough, and I mentioned that I have a kind of a bat phone now. So it's my ice phone in case of emergency phone, where it's a cheap little Nokia, different SIM card, different payment plan, whatever. Only 3 people have that number. But it was near my room, or it's in my room the other day, and it went off with a text message at like
Bat
8 in the
phone,
morning.
bat phone.
Okay. I suddenly thought, oh my God, is my mum texting me? What's going on? And I was like, well, before I looked at it, I thought, well, she probably wouldn't be texting me if it was a genuine emergency. But every week or every month, I get a text from Labara, who is the network, to say, I'm renewing, you've renewed your plan or something. And because the text, everyone's silent, it was that text. And I kind of figured that out before I even looked at it. I go, I reckon it's that text. Yeah, I mean, for me, even when I'm sitting talking with someone, and certainly when I'm presenting, when I'm delivering in front of people, I won't even have my phone in my pocket. Regardless of the fact it's on Bluetooth, and which it always is when it's in my pocket, pretty much, unless I'm expecting a call. Is because the weight of it, even though you might not perceive it, it is for me a distraction, and having that in there. And so even if I'm in conversation, if I want to be really present with someone, then I'm not going to have the phone on me or around me, which actually serves my need to phone behind the screen right now as I
You'll
have
be
it.
proud of me, Harry. So, not necessarily a good story, but I almost missed dinner at Rockfish, which my wife had planned in advance, because I went to a paddle tournament on Saturday and hung around to watch the Tier 1 guys play. Very, very good. And I didn't touch my phone from the second I got to paddle till the time I left. I was there for 5 hours. It was in my kit bag. It wasn't on my person. I was having fun, socialising. It was paddling pints. We had a pint afterwards, social, whatever. Although my wife had been trying to contact me several times. If I had that notification on my phone, I'd have known to say, don't forget dinner. And of course, by the time I looked at my phone, it was at the time of the reservation. So I didn't help. I did get across town. I ended up playing in my sweaty kit. I went to dinner and it was fine. But I think there's a message here, which I think we can link to Christmas again. Like, that's the time where we do need to turn off some of those notifications. So have screen-free dinners, ring-fence family time. And we talked a year ago, didn't we? The one day that I don't have my phone with me, and the same reason is on Christmas Day, because all the most important people in the room who need to contact me are in the room. Like, if you're not in that room, I don't need my phone. Like that because you're there. So there's no one else more important. And I find it quite freeing. Like, I don't know why it's only one day of the year, but it's a chance to unplug. And we can unplug almost anything, right? Including ourselves. And sometimes we need to unplug ourselves at Christmas.
I mentioned to you last week, I think when we met, that last Saturday when I went out to meet my cousin in the pub, and I don't go to the pub, so it was a bit of an anomaly for me, but I'm new to the area and he invited me out. But I left my phone at home deliberately because I don't have internet, and my mum was hotspotting off my phone. So I was going out, and I did take my kind of emergency phone with me just in case. But as I was cycling to the pub, I suddenly realised I'm not 100%. I've never been to this pub before. I'm not 100% sure of the area. What do I do if I can't find my way? And the fact that I had to think about that, right? Whereas 20 years ago, if I couldn't find somewhere, by default, I'd be like asking someone or walking around for an extra 10 minutes or whatever.
How we used to do things, right?
It wouldn't be a thing. And I can't remember if I mentioned this to you or not last week when we met, but I kind of sparked a bit of a debate with this. Maybe I mentioned it with the students who I was teaching, because I think one of them asked me about something to do with smartphones or some kind of question. And I said that actually I think we should ban all smartphones for under 18s, right? Or at least under 16s, but probably under 18s. And then we were going into this whole thing, and I said, look, I'm probably one of the last generations that grew up before the internet and evolved with the internet. So I'm comfortable with the internet, comfortable with mobile phones. Didn't have a phone until my mid-20s. Didn't have a smartphone until into my 30s. And so I've lived through lots of different eras. I've lived as a teenager without this. And even on the way up here, I was thinking about this, that and I get it, it's easy to put someone in front of a screen, because I was with my niece earlier and we ended up going in front of a screen. And I mentioned I was on a screen at one point as well. And I thought to myself, to raise a child is a full-time job, as you know, right? I wouldn't know, but like you need someone there present all the time. And if you don't, then the screen is the kind of the default babysitter in a way. But I was thinking, like, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, when the children were bored, and this goes back to your conversation you had with your son, I think it was your son, about being bored, or, years ago, you would find things to do. And I just feel like, I know we keep banging the same drum, as it were, but like my mum was babysitting for my sister the other day, and she has 3 children. Now, when my mum's in the house, she was like, I don't see any of them. They're all in their rooms. They're doing their things. They're on their devices. My niece, who's 13, the other day, texted me at 11:15, and she gets up at 6:00 in the morning. And I'm saying to her, I didn't say anything to her because I don't know what was going on. Maybe they were out for some school thing or whatever. I don't know what was going on. But I have a feeling it's more of a habit than I would approve of. Even today, I came into this house here, and my 11-year-old niece, she hasn't got a phone yet, but she can text apparently on her laptop.
I mean, there are alerts you can set up. I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit, as a parent, we use screens as a babysitter a lot. I mean, my kids have access to screens. And actually saying that, I'd actually be all for banning it, because I think
it's hard as an individual parent.
It is hard, but I think if there's a universal ban, I'm for it. If there isn't, it is, while you have it, it's like that cake in the kitchen when you're trying to be on a diet. If you've got the cake there, the temptation eventually overtakes you and you end up eating the cake. If you haven't got the cake, you don't need to use it. If there's a ban, you wouldn't have the screen, so you wouldn't have the temptation. You'd have to think of other plans, but there isn't a ban, so you do, and I'm guilty of that. There are some good parental controls you can put in place. I don't mean about the content they can see. Of course, they're in place, but so my son gets very frustrated because he can't access anything on his phone, messages coming in, out, apps, anything after 6:30. Because I control it through the Apple Family thing. You can cancel it. So he has to ask for approval, which I then comes into a message to me that I have to accept or reject. So he finds that frustrating. So we have limits on it. But there are times where even then I'll approve it because I'm working late, and it's easier. And it's a lame excuse, but it's true. But I do think there's an element, and I don't know if it'll happen for kids, but I think it's happening for our generation. There's everyone at the moment, the headlines are, will AI replace your job? And you'll bear with me, you'll know where I'm going with this, I think. And I think as AI comes in and automates everything, you're going to start seeing companies utilizing in their marketing that they're human first. That actually we value connection, we value the human connection. It's not everything's been automated. We have actual humans at the end of the line, almost like that's a real USP. Our USP is we actually still employ humans rather than machines. And I think there is an element at the minute with screen time getting so overweighted that we're all transfixed to these things. There is a mental health crisis that we are starting to see a little bit of people, a bit like the Facebook, people leaving Facebook. People are starting to leave them a little bit more than they used to. I always revert back to something I heard on the High Performance podcast a long time ago. Jake Humphrey said that a Formula One race is won and lost in the pits. If we don't have that moment to recover, to reset, it doesn't matter how fast your car is, how good the aerodynamics, how much you've invested. Ultimately, it's not going to get across the finish line. And I think in terms of the technology and the screen time, I think we're going to start to discover that as much as they bring a benefit, if we don't unplug from them now and again, if we don't reset, if we don't put ourselves in the pits from all the screens, the blue light, the constantly on-demand content from work, from family, from messages, we're just going to burn out, and there's going to be the mental health crisis is going to get worse. And that's why on this show, like we are trying to emphasize. I know people say, all the gadgets are accessible, but the 6 minutes in an ice tub for me is my chance to reset. It's breathing exercises, journaling, stretching, exercise. Rest isn't a reward, right? In that way, it's our opportunity to unplug and just get back to basics.
And look, and I'm fully aware of the irony in all this conversation. We're using technology now. I used YouTube last night to do a yoga session, and I tend to watch these things. What I would say, and the light at the end of the tunnel for those listening, I think the way technology is going, and this is because of AI, I believe, that AI and voice interaction and the interaction that we have is going to become so, in a way, human-like, that actually the need for a screen will start to disappear. I mean, we saw it 5-10 years ago with the introduction of things like Alexa, and Siri, where you can now, speak to your speaker. I don't particularly agree with having someone eavesdropping on you the whole time, so I don't have one in my house, but although the phone is doing that. But as we start to get more and more with this technology, I believe that the screens will disappear. You kind of see that with Meta glasses and things like that. But I think we'll have like maybe the Aura Ring, as it were, and it will just be a thing. And you'll say, look, okay, what time is I want to get to London. What time is the next train? How do I get there? And it will just tell you. So you won't be as transfixed. So I think the issue with the screen is that there is something else to go to, and it's that seeking mechanism that always comes into play, and scrolling and going to the next thing. But when you're doing it in an auditory fashion, I think it's more difficult, and I think that's where technology will go.
I hope so. I think the scary thing is watching my kids on screens is often, I'm probably leaning more on my son here, who's 11. He'll be on a screen playing games or whatever, FIFA, but after there's a period of time where you see the enjoyment's high, but it dips, it goes down. I've only been on it for several hours. You realize they're not even enjoying it anymore. They're just on it almost out of habit. He becomes narky. He's forgotten to go and have his lunch, so he's hungry. And you end up like, you're not enjoying it. Your attitude now stinks because you've been on it for so long. It's almost like inside he knows he's been on there too long. He's angry with himself, but he's not strong enough to pull himself off it. He hasn't got a strong enough reason to come off it, as in you kind of lose the ability to play a little bit. We talk about as kids. I don't want to say we're going to sound really old, but you don't want to lose the ability to play. And I'm really keen on sometimes just walking in, taking the screen off and having a little play fight is fun. And you realize you've had more smiles in a play fight with me and a pillow fight in 3 minutes than you've had in the last 3 hours playing FIFA.
I don't think being on the computer game is playing.
No, I agree. And that's the bit I'm worried about. But with play comes movement. So you're playing in the park, you're doing yoga, you're having a pillow fight. At least there's movement in there. It's a playful, it's different. I think playful needs to involve movement.
What you were describing to me, though, before, if I'm honest, in terms of the symptoms, as it were, in my view, and it's all the hallmarks of like basically an addict, right? I'm not saying that like Leo's an addict or anything like that, but like the general way where I
think all kids like that are that. Not all kids, but most kids are. All his friends are on the same devices, and because the gamification is they're at different levels. You've got to try and go up the level. It keeps you hooked.
It's not just the games. That's my point. Is all of social media, and to a large extent just media in general, but like social media in particular, and some of these are designed to be addictive. They are addictive. They have those neural pathways, and this is where I just think that we've really dropped the ball with it. We are where we were with smoking in the 1930s and 40s, and it's going to take another 30 years, I think, for us to figure this stuff out. And when we do, we are going to say to ourselves, "Oh my God!" Right? Because think about it, like from a purely mathematical numbers kind of perspective. If you're spending 4 hours of it, like the average teenager, I think spends around 4 hours a day on social media or something like that. That means if your child is only spending 2, some other child somewhere is spending 6. So imagine you're the child that is spending 6 hours a day on that instead of maybe, let's say a couple of hours playing, a couple of hours studying, right? And a couple of hours otherwise engaging in something else, right? Learning a skill, music. This is the reason we're not going to have doctors, engineers, or anything in the future, because we've spent our youth. I mean, I can guarantee I would not have done that well in my exams had I been around as a teenager now. I really I really got annoyed with my parents because they had a few strict rules, like no TV in the bedroom, which we didn't have access to a TV in the bedroom anyway as teenagers, but no games, no video. So they wouldn't let us. I think we got an Amstrad when I was maybe 8 or 9, but we weren't allowed the Nintendo or anything like that. And I really, really got annoyed because every time I wanted it for my Christmas birthday, I was always disappointed. And that's also, I remember Christmas always being a little bit disappointing because I never used to get exactly what I wanted. But now, obviously parents know best. In retrospect, I'm thinking,
you're thankful.
Thank God.
I mean, I had a slightly different. My parents probably would have got me those things, but they just couldn't afford it. So, I remember having, I was one of only 2 or 3 kids that couldn't go on a French exchange trip and had to stay at home and do science while everyone else went away because my parents couldn't afford to take me. And it's not their fault, but when you're a kid, it's devastating, and you realize you have so much fun and get away from school or whatever. And I remember that I got a joint birthday and Christmas present. It was a joint gift from both my parents and my grandparents for both a birthday and Christmas to get a Spurs shell suit. I mean, this is proper saving. So I think the idea of getting all those things was never on the radar for us, really. I mean, we did know once, eventually they saved for quite a while, and we got a Commodore 64, but we got that the year everyone else was getting Amiga 500s, which was kind of the next level up. But, I think that on retrospect, it was a great thing because I spent all my time making bases, being outdoors, playing football, doing all the things that you do. And I had a great bond with my dad. We lost him, but we were always playing cricket or doing something outside.
Yeah.
I swear, I do remember when I discovered Football Manager, Championship Manager, when I could afford those things, I was working. So we had an Amiga, whatever it was in those days then. And I remember coming back for Christmas and I was locked away playing Championship Manager or Football Manager for like, I remember looking, he used to keep a track, whatever it still does now, he used to keep a track record of how long you played the game for. I remember feeling physically sick, genuinely, even as a teenager, an 18, 19-year-old, whatever it was, 17, 18-year-old, when I saw the time frame and I'd played for 27 hours of gameplay. As a whole day of my life while looking at a screen. Now, in those days, Football Manager, literally all you did is you watched a timer go from 0 to 90, and on one side you have Tottenham, whoever you're managing, the other side United, and it would just go 1-0, goal, 2, and you just watched a counter go to 90 on repeat. Like it wasn't remotely complex. And I was absolutely addicted to this thing. And I remember my dad coming up the stairs and saying to me, you're going to come down and see us. You've been away. We haven't seen any of you. I remember his words were, where's my Nicky gone? He used to call me Nicky. Where's my Nicky gone? I haven't seen you. Like, you usually be playing football, having conversation. Well, I remember giving him a really hard time, going, shut up, Dad, you don't know me. La, 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 la. I gave him a really hard time for it. Gave him loads of attitude when actually he was coming up with love and I want to see you. And I think he probably didn't want to see me after that. He felt, his words, he felt like I'd changed. And that was just one game. Like it's crazy. There's a really good saying, you'll know this already, that if I don't make time for wellness, and this is what this podcast is about really, you'll be forced to make time for illness. And I think we're seeing that. Like we're in a pandemic of mental health crisis, of obesity, of just all kinds of afflictions that people are trying to struggle with because we're not making time for wellness. We're not making time for the things that make us whole, that give us, I don't know. I remember that so vividly. And I don't think I've ever fallen foul of that trap since. I had that sickness of seeing the time and my dad talking to me.
As you were speaking, something that jumped into my head was where I think the issue is that idle minds will, as they say, idle minds are the devil's playground, right? And now the devil's playground has become a lot easier to access, i.e. the social media. But I remember when I listened to, I can't remember which book it was, but it was one of Kevin Hart's books. And I recall it now because I'm listening to a podcast with him on Diary of a CEO. But I remember listening to his podcast and he was saying how his brother, I think it was older brother, was given a bit of free rein by his mum, too much so that he ended up becoming in lots of trouble and drugs and crime and all that. But for him, she made him basically tire out. So she would get him going swimming.
I topography, so I know where you're going with this. Yeah,
all of these things, and it just made me think that we need to occupy that time somehow. And I know my sister, whose room I'm in at the moment, I think initially there's always something going on for my 11-year-old niece. Like right now she's got an hour tutoring and then I think she's going to go to some club. So I get it from her point of view. She gets like 10 minutes here or there and she just wants to like zonk. And I remember thinking when I was at school, Wednesdays I would have scouts. Quite often I'd have to do something with them on a Monday. Then I'd have Greek school sometimes on a Saturday, and then sometimes it was a Tuesday and a Saturday, and football, and then swimming on a Friday. And there was something all the time that made me just busy, because actually I was a bit of a TV addict. I mean, I think I mentioned it before. The first thing I learned to read was the TV guide, and I read maybe a year or two before everybody else because I wanted to know when Playtime, I think it was called, or Play School was on. And so my mum always talks to me about that. So I know I'm an addict, right? And sometimes I'd come home from school and you start watching the cartoons or whatever. I think it's Banana Man or whatever at 3:30 or something. And I'd go, and the next thing I know, it'd be 7:30, and I've gone through Neighbours and Kids of Degrassi Street and Fresh Prince, and so I know my personality. I'm a bit like that. But if I'd spent those 4 hours I'd be like learning the guitar. I'd be like amazing by now.
I think there's a place though. There has to be room for some downtime. I think there's a place even for cartoons and screens. It's just it's that over reliance. I think if you can maintain like one anchor habit. So for Leo, to be fair, it's his football. I take him to football on Tuesday, plays Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday. 4 days a week he's playing football. It's some movement. He's outdoors, and there are bits when he gets back from football. First thing he goes to do is he wants to go on a screen. I kind of go, that's okay. You've been out for an hour and a half. You want your downtime. That's fine. I'll get on with whatever I need to do. I think as long as we have some of those elements in place, you can manage it. It's you kind of get a sense of when it's shifted too far. Like I was angry with my dad because I knew he was actually right. Like I knew I'd been on there too long. I was angry with myself. I remember it so well because I'd seen that 27 hours of playtime. I was like, I was angry with myself already. I didn't then need my dad to compound it. And instead of saying, "You're right, Dad," obviously as a teenager, I gave him a shrift for it, and he was absolutely right. But I think. It's a problem. We're coming into Christmas. I think it's a great time now to try and bring a bit of play back in. And sometimes that does involve commitment from the parents or friends or whatever to get involved in doing that with us. But you're thankful for it later. They're the stories you remember. I don't remember all the hours lost on playing Football Manager. I don't even remember what I won or what I did. But you remember the play, and it's a bit cliche, but you remember the party games, the silly stories, the fun bits that we had. You very rarely remember something on a screen game that was that profound, or even what we scrolled yesterday.
Of like ideas then for Christmas, because I'm trying to think of a game that would be good. What's I used to love Trivial Pursuit. I don't actually have a Trivial Pursuit board game, but I think we used to play it at Christmas, and there was another game we used to play. I can't remember what it was called. Quizzard. That was it. I don't know if it wasn't very popular, but what I did like about that game was that there was each person had like a buzzer. So it was literally, fastest fingers first type thing. And so I'm trying to think of what I could do to involve the whole family. I like the idea of Trivial Pursuit, but what are some things that have stood the test of time in the Day household?
Well, it's not that old, but we are huge fans of the game. And everyone we've introduced it to, I kid you not, has gone and bought this game. So I should be on affiliate link for this because I think I've sold it about 20 times over. And to be fair, it was when I played with a friend that got us hooked and we went out immediately and bought it. It's a game called Chameleon.
Which one?
Chameleon.
Yeah,
if anyone, again, if going back to screens, there's a craze of a game going around now called Imposter. And so you basically you'll have an iPhone, it goes round, and one person is the imposter. It's very similar. They bought it on the back of Chameleon, but on Chameleon, basically, without going into a big sales thing, everyone gets a card and it has a grid reference. And you have a card you turn over. It might be movies, and on their movies you'll have a grid reference. So everyone gets the same grid reference except one person who gets a Chameleon card. So the grid reference might be A9. So A9. The movie at question is Spider-Man. That's A9 on the grid. All the other movies. The Chameleon has no idea what the movie is. He knows it's something on the grid. So there's 20 movies on there, and he has to work out which one. You go around. You're allowed to say one word associated with what the grid reference is. So if it's Spider-Man, you might say web or whatever. But you want to say a word that doesn't give it away to the Chameleon. So when it gets to the Chameleon, you've got to say a word that goes undetected so no one thinks it's you. So ideally you want it to be relevant to the movie, but also doesn't give anything away. So you have to try and be clever. And at the end of it, the group has to decide who the Chameleon is, whoever gave the worst answer. And the bigger the group, the better. And that's one point if you get it right. But the second point is the Chameleon, even if they get detected, if they can still work out what the movie was, they still get a point. So it can be any subject from foods to movies. It's really fun because everyone goes at everyone saying, I think it's you, I think it's you. It's really engaging, and it goes on for hours and hours and hours. So that's been a really successful game in our household.
Okay,
quite a few, actually. It's good fun.
It's effectively a deck of cards, but it's a card back of card thing.
Yeah, we don't bother really with the points and stuff. Like you have a proper winner. We don't do that. We just go around and play until we're bored. It's just fun working out what the Chameleon is. Yeah, it's really good fun. It's really good fun.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the message. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be a Christmas show, although it's probably coming out close to Christmas time because we've got some in the bank. But like Christmas isn't a performance, is it? It's all about participation. It's all about presence with a C, not with a T. And I think that's something that I remind myself of every year. And I think it's good to get that message out early. Be present, put the phones away, try and get the kids off the phones as much as we can. Try and get things they're engaged in, have games. Chameleon's a great example. both my kids will be nowhere near a screen if we're playing Chameleon. They'll be very upset if we're playing downstairs and we haven't told them we're playing as adults. My kids get very upset. Leo, I want to play. Why haven't you told me? Well, it's a really fun game.
I'm going to check that one out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will check that one out. So I think there was something else I wanted to circle back to as well when you were talking about. I guess it was perfection a little bit earlier in the conversation. And something that jumped out at me that I meant to say is, as I said, I was recording a video, an updated video on a comparison for these rebounders that I've got different rebounders. I'm making a comparison video for rebounders. And like I said, I think, I can't remember if it was on air or off air, the lighting wasn't great. I probably need to reshoot it. And then I just thought to myself, look, you know what? To produce is better than perfection, or production is better than perfection, because firstly, at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't going to ever watch it anyway. But secondly, if you always wait and wait and wait for things to be perfect, you just never get things done. And, we've talked about how, I'm more of a ready, aim, fire person. You're more of a ready, fire, aim person. But one thing that I did learn over the years of doing my videos and blogs and everything else is, it's better to produce than perfect. And so, I think you're not going to be perfect, even at the screen stuff or anything like that over Christmas, but it shouldn't stop us trying. It shouldn't stop us being cognizant of this, and it shouldn't stop us doing things, I think.
I agree. Well, as you know, I've been studying fear as a saying I've come up with, which is fear's greatest disguise is wisdom. And when I say that, it's when you hear that voice that says, not yet, I'm not ready, wait, all the things that you were just talking about. It's fear disguising itself as prudence. It's telling you to stay safe and stay, where we don't need to put ourselves out there to be ridiculed or because it's not perfect or whatever. But if it also prevents you from realizing your potential, to discovering what may turn into something great. To using your own acronym, first attempt in learning, to understand where the problems are. Because in social, people will soon tell you, right? If it's not great, they'll tell you. All right, no, next time I'll get that bit right. I think I play golf on a Wednesday with a guy called Adrian, Wednesday mornings if I can. He's a wise chap. He's good fun. But he said to me, like, the worst quality you can be is a perfectionist, because you live in a place of comparison, and comparison's a thief of joy. If you're trying to be a perfectionist, people think they wear it with a badge of honor. I'm a perfectionist. It's not a good thing. You live in a world of comparison, because to be a perfectionist, you have to be constantly comparing yourself to everything else around you. Like, just get rid of the cape of perfectionism and just go do. Discover what life is all about, and it's way more fun.
It's sometimes hard to do that, and I get that, people. But like I've mentioned in the show before, I didn't think that my book was necessarily the perfect cover that I wanted, or the perfect marketing plan that's come out. But I'm so glad it's out, right? Yeah. And the same goes for my YouTube videos and everything I've done. Because if I'd waited, I guarantee, like, even now, 15 years later, I probably wouldn't have launched my website. Right. And actually one of the best bits, and I've mentioned this before, but the founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, who I think is getting into his own troubles with the whole Epstein stuff. But one quote I did like of his that I heard him say once is, if you're not embarrassed by the first product that you shipped, then you waited too long. And that really stuck with me when I heard that. I remember when I heard that, because I was walking into my basement of the flat I was living in at the time. And it really stuck with me, and almost that turned the switch in my head. And I thought, actually, you know what? Just get it out. Just press publish, right? Yeah. Just
well, here you are, Tony Robbins or whatever. I'm sure if you go back to the early content, he'll be looking at himself with a bit of cringe. If you want to go through that process to get to where you are, right?
You look at the first Amazon.com website. I think I saw it. I think I pulled it up once for a talk I was giving.
It's why we have iterations. It's why we evolve. It's why we have versions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and whatever. Well, look, talk about family. You've got family to go see, and I'm conscious you've got a quick stop. So
I'm babysitting in about 1.5 minutes. My brother-in-law is taking the 11-year-old somewhere, and I'm with the 2-year-old. So hopefully she'll go to bed quite easily, but that's as long as she's been off the screen. And
I'll let you go play and have fun, and as 2-year-olds, always entertaining. And it's been good to have a chit chat. We'll do the next episode. We'll make the next one a little bit more Christmas focused for people. We did that last year, went down really well, so we'll do the same again next time. But we've kind of touched upon a few things today, which has been fun. Really good to see you last week in London. Of course, if you are listening to this, remember to subscribe if you can. Review the show, share it with your colleagues and friends. Be really helpful for us. But reviews in particular really help the algorithms, really help us reach a broader audience.
If you're looking to get a Black Friday deal in, no, actually, we would have passed, actually. But if you're still looking to get a Bellican rebounder, then we'll put a link in somewhere as well, I think.
Yeah, put that out there. And go grab Harry's book. Give it as a good Christmas gift. It's a nice little plan up there, right? You can do that. Yeah. That'd be very nice. You can find us also on _mindful_podcast on Instagram as well. So find us there. Anyway, Harry, go find your 2-year-old, mate. It's really good to chat as always. And I will catch up with you in a few days' time.
Take care, Nick.
Cheers,
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.